Hi everyone, welcome to the Let's Be Real podcast. I'm your host, Lejo, and if this is your first time listening, welcome. This is also my first time recording an episode, so I'm feeling very much excited and there's a lot to look forward to, so it's going to be really great and really fun. I hope you stick around. So, yeah, without further what's the word? Delay. Yes. Oh my goodness. It's not even a minute in and I'm already like stumbling around for my words. Okay, so today's topic is about high school. And I know this can be a very touchy subject for some. But as for me, I would say if there was a quote that could sum up my high school experience, it would be the opening line of A Tale of Two Cities. I actually had to Google this because I didn't know where the quote was from originally. But yeah, it's by a Charles Dickens book. And it goes like this. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. And like I said, that basically sums up my high school experience. There was a lot of good, but also a lot of bad, and a lot of mixed emotions. So yeah, I think I'll start from the very beginning in terms of grade eight. Obviously, that is, I don't want to say a big transition, but it is definitely a change, from primary school to high school. And so for me, I would say I was excited, to go to a new school, meet new people. Um, and I remember during grade eight camp, I feel like a lot of interesting things happened there. Because for me, obviously, I was still trying to get to know everyone. Okay, not everyone, but just making new friends, all of that. Trying to get to know people in my class, getting used to this new environment. Like it was kind of overwhelming, I'll be honest. Um, but I would say that once I found those few friends that I could, talk to and click with, it was pleasant for the most part. And yeah, so grade eight, I would say it was mainly me getting used to this new territory. And like I mentioned, grade eight camp was a great way for us to all bond and get to know each other. And we definitely made some pretty fun memories, I will say. Um, so yeah, I wouldn't say it was all smooth sailing though, because I remember when we were at camp, there was this one day, it was during lunch, I think. And, everyone's all got their food in front of them, they're all sitting. And I was walking towards the tables. And I kind of looked around and I was like, man, I didn't even know where to go. Like, I felt so awkward. Like, who do I go to? Who do I speak to? Because at that time, I hadn't yet, like, found, like, my, friends or group, whatever. And I felt like everyone else had already figured it out. So that was a bit tough at first. But like I said, you just kind of challenge yourself to open up a conversation with someone, just talk to them because we were all in the same boat. This was all new for us. So yeah. So yeah, that was grade eight. That was the main thing I remembered, to be honest. Like camp in the beginning, everything else was just, school, getting used to the whole environment and whatnot. And oh yeah, of course, before we had camp, it was obviously initiation. That was, oh my gosh, that was actually crazy because initiation on its own was crazy. And now on top of that, we need to, because we had all this new stationery and all these books that we're carrying around, and we're already overwhelmed. Like we just arrived and now we have to do all these crazy things like sizzling. Sizzling was basically the matrix telling us to go and lie down in the grass. Okay. And bear in mind, we were wearing skirts. So already that was uncomfortable. Now we're in the sun and we just had to like, you know, sizzle in the sun like we're a bunch of sausages in a pan. Essentially, that was the whole idea. Another thing we had to do was like push up against the wall and pretend like it could move. Um, yeah, it was very interesting. Oh yes, and we also had like baby potatoes. We had to make a whole birth certificate for them, and we had to draw on the potatoes to make them look like a baby. And if we didn't take care of them, like let's say one of them dropped on the floor, then we had some punishment to go with it. And oh yes, another one, we had to carry around like a bunch of sweets so that every time a matriculant passed us, and we called them Your Highness, by the way, or My Queen, on demand. If they wanted sweets, we had to make sure that we could give it to them. So yeah, that was also quite an interesting experience. But obviously, looking back now, it's quite fun to reminisce about, the times that we had to go through that. So yeah, like I said, grade eight, not too hectic, just finding our feet. And then grade nine. So grade nine was the year that COVID happened. Oh my goodness. So for us, fortunately or unfortunately, whichever way you look at it, after like a few weeks after the lockdown was announced and all of that, we were obviously at home. But to be fair, they did make a plan. So essentially, we continued with school online, using your Google Meets and all of those lovely things. So yeah, the schooling basically continued. That also came with its own challenges and also just interesting moments. Like for instance, I remember we had a history class like at the end of the day on one of the days. And obviously at that point we're all just sitting at home. Okay, we've gone through like hours of school at this point and we just want to dip, bro. We just want to disconnect and enjoy the rest of our day. So, some of my classmates, um, they were like, sorry, we have no electricity, like load shedding, whatever. Or, just little stories like that just to get out of class. So that was that. And yeah, like I said, it was also its own experience in terms of doing school online. And yeah, I would say for me though, like during COVID, I think I realized how much time I spent at home because when lockdown was announced, like nothing really changed. Like literally, when most people were like, "Oh my gosh, this is so crazy! I want to go out. I want to do this and do that. I can't just stay at home and be stuck here." For me, it was like, guys, this is like regular programming for me. So yeah, that was grade nine. I will say, like in terms of my personal life, um, let me not get into that. It's fine. That's a story for another day. But essentially, grade nine, like I said, was most basically just us, adapting to this new reality and just being uncertain about what is actually going on. So yeah, and I will say towards the end of grade nine, I remember obviously because now we're used to staying at home, all of this, and we had this geography lesson. And at the end of it, our teacher, she was kind enough to be like, okay, well, we're gonna end class early today because I want to give you guys a chance to, study for the exam at this point at the end of the year. And what do? I don't study or do my work. I go onto, I think it was Prime Video to watch this sports documentary. Imagine. Um, and I say that to mention, or I mention that to say that, like a few weeks after that, closer to the exam, as I was actually studying, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. I don't know if I'm gonna make it, guys. Like, I'll be so real. I genuinely thought I would I genuinely thought I would fail geography in grade nine because I was basically fooling around. So, yeah, I will say that. But thankfully, I didn't. I passed grade nine, onwards and upwards to grade 10. And our grade 10 was, once again, also interesting. I feel like every single year there was something, you know, there was something interesting that happened that really added some extra spice to the whole high school experience. So anyway, grade 10, there is still, the COVID regulations, but our school made a plan and we were able to go back to school physically if we wanted to, or we could stay home. But that was only for like the first couple of months of the year. So I chose to stay at home. Like I said, I was used to being a homebody, and so I was like, I'll just stay here. It's okay. So yeah, that continued, and I will say there was also another reason that is a bit more, I guess, personal, because I was like, man, I don't feel like mentally ready. I don't feel physically ready to go back to school. So yeah, but like I said, eventually, we did need to go back, and so now we're back. And at this point, we're 2 years into high school. I don't know why I keep saying we. Um, at this point, I'm 2 years into high school. And so, in terms of friendships and stuff, we had like a core friendship group, and there was quite a lot of us, maybe like five or six. But now people left, and others joined. And so that definitely affected our group dynamics. And so by the time I came back, in grade 10, our friendship circle was basically very, very small. Like very, very small. And obviously that's not a bad thing in and of itself. It's just once again another thing to adjust to. So yeah, and also another change came in the form of subject choices because now we could decide which subjects to drop, which ones to take. And I remember I chose physical science and visual art and business studies. Oh my days. Business studies. If you know me, you know I love business so much. It was so great. And in terms of physical science, I mainly chose that because I genuinely thought I would do architecture, like since grade eight. Like I even job shadowed at an architecture firm because I was so like, I'm doing this. Like I'm gonna be an architect and that's it. But obviously things change. And I realized that, you know what, it's not really the path I want to pursue necessarily. But at that point, I had already chosen the subject, and I was like, you know what, it's fine. It's a pretty good subject to do. So yeah, that was that. And in visual arts, I am a very artsy and creative person, so I guess I wanted that outlet. But I will say, in terms of like visual arts, if you've ever done it, you know that it's not just all fun and ooh, you drawing and sketching and painting. Like it's actually a lot of work. Because we had these visual diaries that we had to complete and work on. And yeah, it's very, very intense, but it was a good experience. I will say that. And so yeah, that was grade 10. Yes. Grade 10. I remember we also had what was it? It was a science camp that I went to, which was quite nice. So at that point, that was the second camp that I attended in high school. So yeah, it was always nice going to camp because obviously you get closer to your classmates. It's also a way to get away from home, kind of like a mini getaway or vacation, but still very much beneficial and valuable. So yeah, that was a good experience. And then we get to grade 11, which was once again a very interesting year in terms of school. Like obviously now we're applying for uni. So things are getting serious in terms of friendships, even more change, a bit of conflict, a bit of, all of that. And another thing I forgot to mention, speaking of conflict, is that, unfortunately, um, when you're with girls constantly, there is bound to be some kind of drama because I went to an all girls high school. So, yeah, you can really imagine what was transpiring on that end. But yeah, like I said, in terms of school, it's getting more serious. Friendship dynamics were shifting. Also, like going older, like now I'm almost 18. So yeah, things are changing, things are getting intense. And I do remember one of the more memorable moments of that year was the grade 11 leadership camp. And that was quite nice in the sense that we all were able to bond and, like I said, get to know each other better. Camp is always nice in that way. Like it's a more relaxed environment and all of that. But at the same time, being with your classmates for days on end, it does also bring up a few things. And I remember one day I was having a conversation with a friend, and yeah, we were just opening up about, how life is going, like really, like on a deeper level. And yeah, we just had some really good chats about our various friendships and all of that, which was nice because it definitely made me feel less alone. Because sometimes when you go through things or you're thinking certain things, it may seem like you're the only one, but once you open up to someone about it, then you can actually relate and be like, oh, okay, me too. I'm actually not alone. That's great. So yeah, that was really living. It was a beautiful place as well. It was near the dam, and I remember the day that we were gonna leave, we had like this self-reflection journaling session in the morning, which was really nice, really, really cool experience. And obviously, the main aim of that camp was to, develop us as leaders. So I definitely think there was, personal growth that happened as well over those couple of days. And another thing that happened that I would say is very significant is, I started feeling that no man, there's something's not right, like internally, right? I was just going through it personally. And so I opened up to a friend. And one of the things she recommended was for me to start counseling because we had a school counselor that we could talk to. So, I kept that in the back of my mind. And I mentioned that because starting those counseling sessions, it genuinely, like, it changed a lot for me in a good way, obviously, because I was able to process the things that I was going through, sorry, um, you know, because there were certain things that I wasn't comfortable sharing with, let's say, my friends or my family. And so I felt like I couldn't really tell it to anyone. So I was keeping it to myself, but then also trying to solve these problems all by myself. It was just a mess. And I remember one of the things I actually mentioned to her, to our school counselor, was like, I felt like my life was this giant, twisted knot of just everything tangled everywhere. And my my main intention for seeking help and all of that was so that all of that could be unraveled, you know? So like I said, the more I went to counseling, the more I was able to process a lot of things. And I mention this because mental health is like, uh, I don't mean to exhaust the topic, but like it's very important to be able to regulate your emotions and to process things that you're going through or that you have been through. Because if you don't, it's just gonna like ruin your current experience, like regardless of whatever stage you are in life. Because for me, I was in high school and that's pretty young. But even then, I still had some things that I needed to deal with if I wanted to, start thriving and be happy and content and all those lovely things. Um, so yeah, that was basically grade 11. I was starting to improve my life and, my friendships, just getting honest about a lot of things. So yeah, grade 11 was definitely more on the serious side, but I still did enjoy it, obviously. And then we get to the penultimate moment, or yeah, should I say, matric. And matric was very interesting. I know I keep saying that, but like genuinely, every year just got a lot more interesting. Um, I think matric was the year that I started to like really, I guess, mature, but also accept certain things how they are. Because at the end of the day, it was the last year of matric or of high school, should I say. And there were a lot of things that I felt kind of dissatisfied with, but I decided to basically just flag it out. I was like, some things I'm just gonna need to make peace with and just, go with it until the end of the year. So yeah, like I said, grade 12 is obviously a very serious year academically. Like now you're going to uni next year unless you decide to take a gap year, but like, pretty big deal. Um, at that point I turned 18. Or was I going to turn 18? No, I turned 18, I think. 18, I think, yes, I turned 18 in March. So, now we're going into adulthood, all these things. But I will say matric was a year where I just wanted to enjoy the last year of high school. And one of the ways I did that was just taking more, I guess, agency and control over, like I said, my emotions, setting boundaries as well. That's what I tried to do. Well, that's what I did. Um, I could have done it better in some instances, in terms of, my friendships, my relationships with my parents, let's say. I was in relationship, but yeah, that's also another story for another day. So yeah, but to be honest, it was nice overall. Um, like your matric, we had special privileges. We got our matric jackets. Like it was just wholesome. We could do our nails as well. That was also quite nice. Oh yes, the matric dance. Yeah, like there was a lot that happened in matric, which was really wholesome and good and nice and pleasant. And yeah, I think matric was when I started growing into myself, discovering who I was, all of that beautiful stuff. And then, yeah, as I was saying, we obviously had the matric dance, and yeah, it was wholesome. It was cute. Everyone looked so pretty, and yeah, it was a great night, to be honest. I actually wrote a Substack article on it. If you guys want to check it out, I'll link it in this episode below, just going more into depth about the stuff that was happening, like the underlying stuff that was going on. But yeah, I don't want to make it seem like everything was really deep and horrible. It wasn't. Like there were some really nice moments in matric, like for instance, as a art class, yes, as an art class, um, our lovely teacher took us out on an excursion. So we basically went to all the art, okay, not all, but quite a few of the art galleries, around Rosebank. We looked at the art and we just spent time as an intimate little class because there wasn't that many of us. I think maybe like 5 or 6 of us in total. And then after that, we got Nike. So yeah, it was a very, very fun day. And yeah, and also towards the end of the year, like after the Matric dance, rather, we had residency, which basically, how to explain it? We basically went to this like hotel, not like a four-star hotel, but a pretty decent place for a couple of days. And the main purpose of that was to prepare for our finals. So there were like some guest teachers and, other notable educators, I guess, just to help us revise so that we could be, well prepared for the finals. But obviously, apart from school, we also had like games night, bonfire night as well. All my days, as I'm saying this, I also remember this was crazy. So, yeah, like I'm saying, we were at residency, it was quite nice, all of that. Um, and basically, on one of the days, one of my classmates, she didn't feel too well. She started to, you know, yeah, she wasn't feeling okay. I think she started throwing up, all of that. So she informed the teachers, and they were like, "Okay, yeah, at this point, I think you can just go home. It's okay." So yeah, I think she went home. But then a few of her other friends in her friend group, they also started to fall a bit sick and feel unwell. So basically, one by one, people were just dropping like flies, so to speak. And before we knew it, all of us, we all got the sickness, whatever. I think it was a stomach bug, actually. But yeah, thankfully it was more towards the end. So it was like maybe the last 2 days of our stay there. We basically, yeah, we weren't okay. Yeah, it was actually so crazy. But yeah, thankfully for me, I didn't really feel it while we were at residency, but it was only when I came back home. That's when it really hit me. And I also was throwing up. My appetite was gone. I was just feeling so miserable. And we were all going crazy in the group chat because we were like, what is going on? It was so crazy. But like I said, even though in the moment being sick wasn't nice, obviously, but looking back, we can now laugh and just have a good time thinking about what we went through. So yeah, excuse me. So yeah, that was basic metric, and obviously the main event was the finals. And I'll be real, for me, I think a part of me, even though I've always wanted to do well in school and excel, I kind of got tired academically in the sense that, for Afrikaans and like your English, there was a certain amount of poems that we had to learn and go through and study for the final, which is a big deal because it largely, would determine, our future. So with me, I'll be so honest, especially for like Afrikaans, I only learned maybe like four or five, like properly. The rest of them, genuinely, I was like, I literally can't be bothered. Like, if it's there in the exam, I'll see what I do. But like, yeah, in general, I was kind of just, I'd already mentally clocked out of high school, of matric, which I don't recommend, but we made it. So yeah, I guess it wasn't all that bad. But I will say, even though I didn't consciously feel stressed out, definitely you could see physically, that, yeah, no, it's very intense. The stakes are very high. And I'll be honest, even like sometime during the year, I genuinely wasn't sure if I was going to make it. Like, I know I said that for grade nine as well, but like, genuinely this time, I was like, I don't know. And looking back now, I think it's less about me not feeling confident in my ability to pass, but it's more like I've never been in a trip before. I've never experienced this kind of pressure. I don't know what's on either side necessarily. And so that uncertainty and that, yeah, just that uncertainty, um, and being put in this new position, it definitely freaked me out. And so because I didn't have a track record that no, I can definitely pass my check and do well, that definitely made me a lot more nervous. But yeah, I did what I could. I did my best. I applied myself like during the exams. And then that was it. We wrote our last exam and we were like, wow guys, we made it. This is great. So yeah, it was a nice way to end off the trip. I definitely felt relieved to just start a new chapter in every aspect, to be honest. So yeah, that was basically a summation of my high school years. Yeah, like I mentioned before, high school, honestly, it was like a box of chocolates, a little bit of everything. I never really knew what was coming next. I just took it as it came. So yeah, and I will say overall, it was a pretty good experience. Maybe if I were to rate it out of 10, I'd say maybe 7. 7, 8. 8 feels a bit too high. Maybe like 7.5. Because, like I said, I went to an all girls school. So there was a degree of, we were comfortable, or at least I felt comfortable. It was a nice environment, very, natural, because not natural, but nature based. Let me say that because my school was on a farm. So, lots of greenery and pretty scenery and all of that. So, yeah, I definitely felt free and comfortable. There wasn't, guys in the same class that we had to worry about. Once again, I keep saying we. um, so, yeah, and in terms of the teachers as well, they were pretty good. They did the best that they could. And I will say I have a few personal favorites that I gravitated towards, either because of the subject they taught or just their personality. And yeah, like I said, there are definitely those handful of teachers that I will always appreciate and cherish in my heart because, high school was definitely my formative years. And so having those school moms and whatnot definitely made the experience so much sweeter, so much better, and more memorable and enjoyable. And yeah, so like I said, sometimes when I think about my high school years, I like my heart just, gets so warm and fuzzy, or going through my gallery of the photos we took. Oh yes, like 40 days. Yeah, I didn't even talk about that. That was another very fun experience during Matric. We basically turned the whole school upside down. That was crazy. So yeah, I do look at those times with fondness, but sometimes there are also, you know, underlying feelings of maybe sadness or, discontentment, which I might need to go deeper into on my own, just doing some self reflection. But to be honest, I think that's life in general. Like, no matter what phase of life you are in, there will always be times when you're having the time of your life and it's really fun and enjoyable. Then there are times when it's really serious and you realize that, whoa, this is actually really deep and I need to lock in and focus because I'm not just here for the vibes. I'm actually here to build a good life for myself. But through it all, I think it's just about learning how to cope, becoming resilient, learning more about who you are and how you can become better as a person. Because definitely, if I compare my grade 8 self to my grade 12 self, there was definitely a lot of growth that happened. And obviously, that came through challenges and learning how to solve my own problems and stuff like that. So, yeah, overall, that was basically my high school experience. And basically, this is time for me to wrap up the episode. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep rambling on. So, yeah, for the very first episode, I hope you enjoyed it. I'm always open to any suggestions of how I can improve the listening experience for you guys. So, yeah, let me know in the comments what you enjoyed about this episode, what I can improve about the episode. And if you would like, you can also share your high school experiences, like the top memories or moments or just things that you learned about yourself and about the world as you went through those 5 years of schooling. So, yes, once again, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I've enjoyed it personally, and I look forward to many, many more episodes. So, yeah, that brings us to the end of episode number 1 of season 1. And yeah, stay real, stay tuned, and happy listening. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.